Did you know that the most feared villain in Star Wars wasn't just played by an actor, but by a real martial artist trained since childhood? What many fans of the saga don't know is that Darth Maul wasn't just makeup, horns, and a double-bladed lightsaber. He was the physical embodiment of years of discipline, training, and real combat. And behind that terrifying figure stood a man who had dedicated his entire life to the martial arts. Ray Park. What you're about to hear is not just another story. It's the real transformation of a young man obsessed with Bruce Lee into one of the most iconic characters in modern cinema. This is the story of the Kung Fu master who turned his body into a whirlwind of lethal movement and took it straight to the heart of the Star Wars universe. Martial might, where warriors live forever. Ray Park was born in Glasgow, Scotland, in 1974. At first glance, he looked like any other kid, but there was something in his eyes, a restless energy he couldn't contain. At age 7, he saw a Bruce Lee movie for the first time, and that moment changed his life forever. It wasn't just admiration, it was a calling, a revelation. He wanted to be like him, not for fame, not for movies, but for the power, harmony, and control he saw in every one of his movements. While other kids played soccer, Ray was training stances, breathing, and repetition. He immersed himself in the world of Wushu, a Chinese martial art as beautiful as it is brutal, a discipline that demands inhuman flexibility, millimetric coordination, and absolute mental connection with the body. You don't train in Wushu unless you're ready to bleed for it, and Ray didn't just train. He dove in head first. By age 16, he was already a British champion. His name began to circulate in martial arts circles as one of the UK's most promising talents. And yet, his real leap was still to come. But the road wasn't easy. At a time when being a martial artist didn't guarantee success, Ray had to battle skepticism. He had no money, no connections, just his body and an indomitable will. Then came an unexpected opportunity. He was hired as a stunt double in Mortal Kombat: Annihilation. His role had no lines. No one knew his face, but the people behind the camera knew one thing. This guy moved differently. Ray Park didn't pretend to fight. He actually fought with hypnotic precision. That small stunt role was enough to catch the attention of a galaxy far, far away. George Lucas was looking for something different for the new villain in Star Wars. The Phantom Menace, someone who wouldn't just intimidate with looks, but with movement. Darth Maul wasn't a typical Sith. He couldn't be. He had to be the rebirth of Fer, the new face of the dark side. And then Ray appeared. His audition was more of a showcase than a test. With a simple staff, Ray spun his weapon like the air itself obeyed him. He performed Wushu techniques, adapted to a fantasy combat style. No one had ever seen anything like it. It was as if a demon danced before the production team. They hired him on the spot. But what came next was even more impressive. Ray didn't just accept the role. He transformed it. He got involved in designing the fight choreography. He suggested movements. He redefined how the double-bladed saber should be used. Darth Maul's lightsaber wasn't just a visual gimmick. It was an extension of his body. A rhythmic weapon of destruction that spun, struck, sliced, as if it followed a dark melody only he could hear. And this is where the difference lies. Ray didn't just move well. He moved with purpose, with intention. Every fight scene in the film isn't just visually striking. It's a martial masterpiece, a duel between movement philosophy, restrained aggression, and total control of space. In most scenes, actors are assisted by stunt doubles for the hard parts. With Ray, it wasn't necessary. He was the actor. He was the stuntman. He was the threat. Every leap, every spin, every wrist flick was his. And yet there's something even more powerful than his acrobatics. The silence. Darth Maul barely speaks in the movie, but he doesn't need words. His presence says everything, and that is directly thanks to Ray Park. What many don't understand is that in martial arts, silence is part of the fight. The control of breath, the stare, the pause before the strike. Rey brought all of that to the screen with chilling naturality. Then came the defining moment, the final duel against Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon Jinn. At that moment, Ray Park wasn't just playing a character. He was leading a martial symphony. Every step, every saber rotation, every glance was precisely choreographed. It wasn't just a battle. It was a performance of surgical precision, as if Wushu had fused with the Force. The music helped, the setting too. But it was Ray Park's body that turned that fight into a cult scene. After his success, many thought he'd become a global star, but Hollywood plays by its own rules. And even though Ray had more than enough talent, he wasn't always given the roles he deserved. Still, he kept working. He kept training. He became Toad in X-Men, Snake Eyes in G.I. Joe, and in every role, his body remained his greatest weapon. While many of his peers chased fame, contracts, and red carpets, Ray Park kept training like it was day one. He never abandoned his discipline. He never stopped being a student. That humility is part of his power. And in 2018, nearly 2 decades later, Ray Park returned as Darth Maul, this time in the Solo movie. And the most impressive thing, he moved exactly the same. The agility, the strength, the intensity, nothing had changed, as if time couldn't touch him. Because when you live with martial discipline, time doesn't age the body. It strengthens it. Many actors return to old roles out of nostalgia or for a paycheck, but Ray didn't return for that. He returned because he never stopped being Darth Maul, because every muscle in his body still remembered the deadly dance, because deep inside, the warrior was still alive, and the audience felt it. That brief comeback was enough to ignite the nostalgia of an entire generation. But here's a truth few people know. Ray Park never sought fame. He didn't chase cameras. He wasn't after headlines. Because for him, what mattered most wasn't the character. It was the path of the martial artist. Today, Ray devotes his time to teaching, sharing his knowledge, training new fighters, new actors, new generations, dreaming of blending cinema and martial arts. In every seminar, every class, Ray doesn't just teach techniques. He teaches respect, focus, control. He teaches what it truly means to be a warrior, and that sets him apart. Because Ray Park wasn't just Darth Maul on screen. He was Darth Maul in spirit, a silent, precise, elegant warrior who turned the dark side into an art form. And even though his character was taken out early in the saga, his legacy was etched forever. Not because of what he said, but because of what he did with his body. And if you think about it, that's the essence of every great martial artist. Speak less, do more. Every time you rewatch that final duel with the Jedi, remember this. You're not seeing a CGI villain. You're seeing a Scottish kid who, through years of discipline and sweat, became a cinematic icon. A man who took his love for Kung Fu, turned it into a deadly dance, and gifted it to the world as a work of art. And it's no coincidence that Darth Maul, with so few scenes and barely any dialogue, is remembered as one of the most impactful villains in the entire franchise. Because when talent is real, you don't need to talk much. You just need to move. And you? Are you training your passion? Or just dreaming about it? Because maybe like Ray, what seems like just a hobby today could one day change your world. Remember this, one single warrior with purpose can alter the course of a galaxy.